Hello, my name is Richard May. I'm here with RTO today. We are here with Britt Beemer, retail god and owner of America's Research Group. He is the leading expert of furniture industry and with the rent-to-own industry. He's been studying our customers for the past 15 years. We're here at Rent Direct at the Gaylord Texan. And Britt, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, good. Now, Britt, he is the leading expert, and so what we just want to hear from you, what's going out there in the furniture world, and how does it relate to rent-to-own?
Well, the number one thing we're seeing changes out there, Richard, is that a few years ago, 59% of people wanted to use a 0% interest offer to buy their furniture. That number has dropped to 23, 26. Cash, check, and debit card that used to be 15% is now 45%. So what's happening is you're seeing a lot of furniture retailers get more shoppers but have lower sales because the average transactions have dropped dramatically. So that's been one of the biggest issues. The other thing I see out there every day is this point, and that is you're seeing retailers now start thinking about putting rent-to-own stores inside their stores for one reason. The number one complaint among potential rent-to-own shoppers is the lack of new, fresh, out-of-the-box merchandise. Brand names are now less important as having new merchandise. So what's happening is you're starting to see that consumer start searching out, like a furniture store, that may have rent-to-own as an option because they know if they buy from that store, they're going to get fresh merchandise. So I think the biggest growth in the next few years is going to be you're going to see more rent-to-own stores open up in retail stores and maybe add 15% or 20% to that retailer's total volume by having a rent-to-own option.
Excellent, excellent. So what are you talking about here at the Texan today?
Well, I was basically talking about what we just finished doing a survey of national appliance buyers around the country, and I was showing them the changes and what's happened. And one of the big issues this day that I brought home was the fact that out of almost 1,000 consumers that bought an appliance in the survey, only 3 of them had gotten a handwritten thank you note from a salesperson. Mm-hmm. Secondly, of those people that said the delivery experience was excellent, every one of them had gotten a call from the retail store asking them how their delivery had gone. Mm-hmm. Of those who said the delivery experience was good, none of them had got a service call from the store to find out how the delivery went. So my whole point was, it wasn't that the delivery was better, but what made an excellent delivery excellent was your follow-up. Mm-hmm. And what made a good delivery was just because there was no follow-up.
Yeah, okay. Y'all taking notes on this? This is good information. What else have you learned out there in the retail world that these rent-to-own guys can use?
Well, I mean, I think the other biggest thing is today is that I still argue this point. When you ask consumers the question about how they want to be treated in stores, 92% of consumers tell us that they're time short. They have very little time. So when a person walks into any retail store, the first thing that retail customer salesperson should say is not welcome to Rent-A-Center or welcome to Own. They should say, thank you for taking time coming to see us today, and then welcome them in the store. Mm-hmm. Because they want to feel appreciated that you took time to come and see them because their time is much more precious now than ever before. Mm-hmm.
Very good, very good. So what other insights have you seen in this new changing retail environment?
Well, the other thing I've seen is that ROP ads have become almost non-existent in the whole landscape of consumers, for example, who don't get a newspaper. 61% of them are buying a Sunday paper prior to making a purchase. So they're actually looking at those ads and pulling those inserts out before they make their buying decision. Mm-hmm. So what I'm also seeing is you're seeing more and more consumers now being impacted by cable television. Mm-hmm. And it's my belief that over the next 5 years, cable television will probably have over twice the retailers advertising on today versus today, because retailers are going to find out that cable television actually can deliver them a specific customer based upon that demographic watching that channel.
Mm-hmm. What about the web? How is that impacting?
Well, I mean, it depends who you ask the question and why. Our numbers show that about 30% of consumers this year who bought an appliance went online prior to shopping. The trouble is this: there are many research firms that do research over the internet. Well, if everyone who's in the survey is an internet user and they did the survey, those internet numbers go through the roof. But here's the difference. Of consumers that bought an appliance this year, 81% of them were replacing a broken appliance in their home. That's an all-time high. For the last 15 years, that number's been around 74%. So the number has now risen 7 points. And the reason why is you got more and more consumers repairing that appliance versus replacing it. So now when it breaks, they can't repair it anymore because it's beyond repair.
Yeah. All right, all right. So then you have to keep that traditional advertising while also looking at this new world.
Right, right. And I mean, even though the internet may only be 30%, it's still, half the size of direct mail. It's still, almost 40% the size of television. So it's still a very important weapon. But my whole point about the internet is the internet becomes a place for people to check you out. And sometimes your reputation of your company is viewed on the internet, which is why you always want to have a great website. But I want to come back to something else I told these dealers this week, because I think this is important today. And this has changed over the last 3 years, of consumers that look at a quality image of a store. 55% of a quality store image comes from that store display. So, when you got a rent-to-own store and you got some gaps in the floor, or it's not clean, or it's not sharp looking, you just destroyed your quality image to over half your customers.
So if I'm a showroom manager of my rent-to-own store, what's the most important thing I do?
Number one is you thank people for coming in the front door.
All right.
Number two is you want your people to be best in class performance to qualify the customer, find out what their needs are, thank them for coming back. But most importantly, you want to have a spick and span store.
And with new products?
New products.
New products, all right.
More new products, the better. That's the single biggest complaint among current rent-to-own shoppers.
Okay. The newer products, the better. Again, are y'all writing notes? This is excellent. This is gold. So what else you talked to the group today about?
Well, the other things I challenged them with a couple other points, I guess, is that with this new shopper today, you got to think about things differently because, they have different concerns. Now, everybody's worried about this guy walking in and is going to use their iPhone, take a picture, whatever, and shop around. But, consumers that bought an appliance this past year, 59% bought the first store they shopped. That's only down, from 63% a couple of years ago. So those numbers haven't changed a lot. But the trouble is the independent appliance store only had a 41% first store shop. So they were much weaker than the overall retailers because still 78% of people who bought at Sears bought on their first visit.
Interesting. So obviously the big question is, how is retail dealing with the market, with the economy?
Well, they're coping because the American consumer is coping. So when the consumer doesn't have to spend any more, they don't. So the problem is that when you're out there trying to sell a customer, if you can't explain to them why they should spend more, they won't. Only about 15% of consumers are what I call good quality customers. 61% want to buy better quality, but if you can't justify why they should spend more, they won't.
Okay, all right. Any last words of wisdom you want to give to the rent-to-own world?
Well, number one is that if you don't send a person a thank you note to thank them for making a purchase in your store, you're destroying customer loyalty. If you don't follow up with the delivery to make sure it was done to their satisfaction, you're not going to get a great experience. But most importantly here's what will be my new challenge. I have a client who is in the furniture industry, and in the last 5 years has never had a down year. Now keep in mind, the furniture industry has dropped 31% over the last 5 years. He's up 18% over 5 years ago. Why is he up 18%? Because he takes an hour and a half to 2 hours every day of his life to call every customer after they've had the furniture at home for about a month. He calls them to say, thank you for buying from me. I thank you, and my family thanks you. And that's all he says. That has had more impact on his customers overall. 16% of the people he calls come in within 90 days and buy something else based solely upon that call by that owner. So if you were a store manager of Rent-A-Center, they should be on the phone calling every customer that writes a new order 2 or 3 weeks later to thank them for taking time and coming in. Don't ask for anything else, just thank them for what they did.
All right, good.
Those are my biggest thoughts of the day.
Well, good. Now, you've been studying rent-to-own for 15 years, 18 years now.
18 years.
18 years.
How time flies.
Yeah, yes, it does. And you don't look a day older,
well,
by the way. What do you see the trend, how do you see the evolution over those 18 years?
Well, probably the biggest evolution in rent-to-own is going to be you've seen more and more independent retailers go away, smaller dealers